Residents of Budletek First Nation in Nova Scotia say they're hopeful water problems like these will dry out over the next year. An Indigenous-led water authority has begun to take shape in the Atlantic region after nearly a decade of planning by an assembly of chiefs. The community has been struggling with poor water quality and failing water infrastructure since the 70s. Just last year, residents were told not to consume the water at all for nearly 3 months. There were dangerously high levels of manganese in the water supply, contamination that can impair brain development in children.
I think the most important part of this initiative is our ownership in water, because our people fundamentally believe in water is sacred, water is life, and if we don't do all the things to protect water and provide safe water for our communities and do it through an Indigenous institution which we own and we control, is the only route, because doing it under the current regime is every community kind of does its own thing. We want to come to a common standard in the water authority that ensures every community has safe drinking water.
The plan includes up to 6 hubs across Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqey territories in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. The hubs will administrate and monitor quality before distributing the water to localized facilities. The authority could be operational within 1 year, and for now, chiefs have developed a 5-year business plan at an estimated cost of $25 million a year. That's not much more than what the First Nations are already spending on water management. The next step for the authority will be to hire a CEO and then look for government investments on a 25-year plan.
So you're coagulating it, and then we're going to put it back into the...
Aside from technical expertise, the authority hopes to regulate the economics, combining all of the community's often unpredictable budgets.
For example, Glooscap actually has a very relatively sophisticated water treatment plant, but then it kind of goes from there down to less sophisticated distribution system and the way that water gets to people's homes. And that's not really a function of the First Nation community, but just the way funding sometimes plays out. The First Nation Water Authority is, I would say, a powerful vision in that it's not just build a building, cut some red tape, and walk away. In fact, it is build a community of water professionals that will steward drinking water, steward wastewater for generations.
Though it's 1/10 of the size, the project was based on the water system for the Halifax Regional Municipality.
Well, I think one of the largest challenges is to break free from the current colonial model. I mean, I think we can all recognize, it hasn't worked, so it's time that we actually tip it on its head and really start fresh and say, if we're doing this from scratch today, how would we approach this to be sustainable and to bring capacity to First Nations? Because really that's what makes this really be a success, is when the First Nations have a utility that's working for them, by them. And I think that's what's radical about this model.